The question before the New York State Court in Manhattan is loot boxes gambling? What about booster packs for Magic the Gathering or Pokemon? Well, if the state of New York and the AG Letitia James get their way, they can be. Tonight, we're going to dive into the billion-dollar lawsuit targeting Valve and Steam that could redefine gaming as we know it. But here's the twist. While my co-hosts debate the ethics of randomized rewards, I'm following the money. We'll connect the dots from New York handing out massive new casino license to the crackdown on poker in Texas to the sudden legal war on digital loot boxes. Is this really about protecting kids or is this about protecting an industry? This isn't just a legal debate, it's a shadow war for the future of entertainment. You're listening to the Loading Screen Lounge, and I'm here with Sir Bigness and Beer Ninja. So the topic at hand tonight is something that's kind of like near and dear to me in a way because I venture outside of video gaming into tabletop gaming as well. So like TCGs, collector cards, like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering. And I was listening to a podcast the other day. Beware, this is probably going to be one of the very, very, very few podcasts that we actually probably dip a little bit into politics, but because of the topic. But I was listening to a political podcast and they brought this up where Letitia James in the state of New York is suing Valve for loot boxes because they're claiming that loot boxes is a form of gambling because you're paying money for a chance to get a good item and you're not guaranteed anything good. It's almost like a lottery system. It's like you're going to pay $1 to get a ticket back and you got a chance you might get something or you might not get anything. And that's the same thing with loot boxes. And they're also some people are starting to make the argument about TCGs, trading card games like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. There was even a case back in the 90s when it was brought up whether or not they were trying to argue is Pokemon back in the 90s and Magic in the 90s was gambling. And at the time, the cases were dismissed because nobody had at that time any injury from the thing. So nobody had standing, is what I'm trying to say. And so it was kind of just kicked down the road. And now with guts going on with casinos starting to pop everywhere, the indication is possibly is the casinos are influencing these lawsuits and push against these gamings because they want to protect their industry and make sure that if anything, any gambling goes on, has to go through them. So I'm gonna pass this off to one of you two. What's your guys' opinion on the whole lawsuit? And what do you think about it?
I'm gonna take if you don't mind, I'm gonna go back lead off on this, and I use that phrase sort of tongue in cheek. I'm of an age when I was growing up, we used to buy baseball cards. You didn't know what was in the pack; you just bought baseball cards, and there was no guarantee that when I bought a baseball card, it was going to have Tony Gwynn, Ricky Henderson, and Wade Boggs and other great baseball players of my youth. There was no guarantee that Cal Ripken was going to be in there, but we bought them, and it was just kind of luck of the draw. You might get something great, you might get something normal, but I mean, it was kind of inherent and understood in that purchase. That being said, baseball cards weren't a play to win type of game. The closest thing I can think of in the gaming front that really did some damage to the monolith that is EA was the Battlefront event. Star Wars Battlefront 2 did something like loot packs, and you could buy them with in-game currency or purchase with your own money, because that is how that tends to balance out. If you're watching this and you're unfamiliar with the way that works in gaming, you can either grind it out and earn credits to do that, or in lieu of credits, you can spend actual real world money. And that backlash hit them so hard, hit Battlefront so hard, that they canceled the series really before they could even see what a great game it was. And it was funny because 5 or 6 years later, that game had a massive surge in popularity when people realized, yeah, they did the loot boxes and was kind of pain in the butt. And so the consumer kind of knocked that game off the shelf. But then it was a really good game, so people came back to it. By that time, EA had shelved the whole pay to win type of scenario. And I kind of think the lawsuit is, I think it's overreach. Do I think EA was wrong in what they did? Probably, yes. Do I think it? Do I think that Magic the Gathering and Pokemon? Look, that cat's already out of the bag. That's like trying to reinstall Prohibition or something. I just don't think that's an effective way of enforcing those kind of controls. You may do something for something new that comes out, but something existing, nah, I don't. I think the market's already full of that, and there's no reason to drag somebody into court behind something that is widely accepted as standard practice. Ninja?
What say you, Ninja?
I was, I was thinking, like when you brought up Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and stuff like that, I was also reminded immediately of a game that, in a way, encouraged gambling in some ways, but it was actually just kind of fun. I mean, there was no monetary value behind it unless you were just spending more to get more, and that was Pogs. If anybody remembers what Pogs is, I played a lot of Pogs when I was a kid. Me and my best friend Brian, when we were growing up and everything. Rest in peace. But we would go out and we would play Pogs with the neighborhood kids and stuff. And that was actually kind of a form of gambling in a way. That was actually kind of my first taste of gambling, really. But when I started reading the articles and everything about what was it, the New York General,
New York AG, Attorney General.
Attorney General was going after them and stuff like that. I was like, this is kind of old in a way. To me, this is like, I don't know. At first, I was like, I think somebody's trying to go out there and make a name for themselves or something like that, because the loot system's been around forever and everything. Some's been a hit or miss. And do I think it can be dangerous for gambling, especially against minors? Potentially. Absolutely. There's always that possibility there and everything like that, which is why I leave it to the developers to make sure that they do a damn good job in trying to prevent that from happening. But then again, sometimes I think in the early stages of the loot system, when it came out, it was actually meant originally for casual players, because not everybody played as long as like a lot of gamers like we did and everything. So I mean, it could be just a number of things. It's been around for a long while. Sometimes there's some games out there that people want to just grind and just earn it that way and everything. Um, I mean, and I've purchased stuff before, not mainly for winning, but most of the stuff that if I did purchase, it was usually just for skins or something like that, which is a big deal right now with Fortnite. That's what all the kids go for. My younger sisters and brothers, they play Fortnite, and that's all they want the money for. They just want new skins and stuff like that. I'm all for that. You got to pay for it or something. But yeah, it's I just don't see this thing. I think it's just going to be long and drawn out. But ultimately, I'm kind of in favor of, I guess you would say, Valve, because they've been doing it for so many years and everything. Like, why now? Why now? What are we looking at? You mentioned the casinos, right? Maybe they felt like, I think you were saying it earlier, Matilda, or when we had a conversation about this. Hey, you're kind of tapping in a untapped potential market that involves my line of work, so maybe I need to get in on that. Because who's to say they're not going to go around later on and try to get involved in that kind of business right there as well? Who knows? That's just my take on it.
The big thing about the lawsuits is it's about setting precedent. If one of the cases can succeed, then basically any other state could go through and file similar lawsuits. The reason why a lot of people think this is tied to the casinos is because New York just recently gave out 4 gaming license to 3. They got 4 gaming licenses and 3 confirmed casinos in New York City and its boroughs alone right now, and a 4th one in the works. And that's a lot of why a lot of people are thinking that with New York, it's pushing for the casinos are pushing this lawsuit because unfortunately, politicians go where the donors' money is, not what the people want. And even coming down to like Texas, when a couple years ago, they closed the big poker room down there in Houston. The attorney general in Texas closed it down, but there's a lot of influence. The theory going around is um, Texas Congresswoman, I want to say her last name's Luther. is a big proponent of trying to bring casinos to the state of Texas. And if the casinos do come to the state of Texas, then that means the poker room is a competition to that casino. And if you get rid of the poker room, then the casinos don't have to worry about competing with a poker room, even though a poker room under previous Texas law was currently legal. So, and now I think even Washington State has even got a similar lawsuit out as well about suing something over this. It's just, I think it's a lot more outside influence, outsider money versus actually, in my opinion, protecting kids or protecting people. Because I remember back in the day, back when I was in school and I used to collect basketball cards and stuff, that when you got a pack of cards, you looked on it and it'll say 1 in 64 packs you could get one of these cards, or 1 in 250 packs you could get this card, or 1 in 3,000 you might get this card, and the more rare it was. So at least they had the odds on it. And that's one of the things that somebody said could be a solution they ended up doing, is starting to put odds out on what are your chances of getting X, Y, and Z. But to go back with the whole gambling, like Pokemon, there's kids who buy the cards, open it up, play the game, and turn around and go play a game for money. Well, that a lot of people are arguing that's technically very similar to playing poker. You're buying in to play a game, and then you might win money back. And so that's why a lot of people are pushing on the Pokemon. And then Sir Bigness, you brought up the sports cards, and I just did a quick search on that, and they said sports cards could fall under this lawsuit, but they might be protected because they don't really have a, outside of being a collector item, they don't have a secondary market like the TCGs do, where you can either collect them, resell them, or play games with them. You can't, unless there's a game out there in the way you could play with your baseball cards, how to play a game. I don't think there is a way you could do it. And that's why they're trying to push these lawsuits through, is because the casinos want full control over gaming. And that means every aspect of any type of gambling or any type of chance, they want control of. Now, if it's skill based, I don't think that's something they can really fall under. But chance based right now, that's what they're pushing for.
You know, and it's funny that you brought up Texas in this, you know, in your statement, because I live in Texas. Ninja used to live in Texas, um, and every state surrounding Texas has legalized casino gambling, and there is a ton of money that flows out of the state of Texas to Louisiana, to Oklahoma, and to New Mexico because of legalized gambling. I remember, I think it was 2022 when the first casinos opened in Shreveport, and the line of traffic, because they weren't in Oklahoma yet, they were in Shreveport, or they weren't on the border of Oklahoma, but they were in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I remember the line of cars on a Friday or Saturday night down Interstate 20 going from Dallas to Shreveport. There were buses carrying people from Dallas to Shreveport so that they could go gamble. The state of Texas still has not instituted legalized gambling. And to tie this into another one of my great loves, the Dallas Mavericks, when the Mavericks were sold 3 years ago to the Adelson family and Patrick Dumont, one of their goals was to build a new arena that was centered around a casino in the DFW area. And Texas did not approve legalized gambling. And because they sold the Mavericks, I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional here. Because they sold the Mavericks, they traded Luka. So the rabbit hole with this goes deep as far as gambling. And the fact that it's touching gaming is one of those things where I kind of wish that they would step back. Let the states decide this, and let consumers decide with their money what it is they're going to do. As far as the casinos are concerned, I think a big reason they're probably going after this is because people carry around a casino in their pocket all the time. It's called their cell phone. DraftKings, FanDuel, Polymarket now, where you can even bet on real world events. The fact that you can bet on whether or not, I mean, hell, the stock market is a casino at this point, but the fact that you can bet on like real world events, like I hesitate to even bring anything real world into this, but you can wager on those things now, which I find to be incredibly disturbing. And the casinos are losing out on this because instead of having the thrill of going into a casino and putting $100 down on a hand of blackjack and winning or losing based on your skill, or putting money in the slot machine, now you just get your phone out and you push a couple of buttons. You get that same thrill while you're sitting at home in your pajamas, and there's no off switch. So I think the casinos are hurting because of that as well, and that might be some of the genesis behind this lawsuit.
Expansion right now. And I think the argument these casinos are pushing to a lot of these states is you do X, Y, and Z for us, and we'll pad your coffers with tax money. And governments like taxes, and they like that money. So any chance they get money coming in, the more they're going to say yes. And that's why I think a lot of it is too is they're backing these casinos up and just really going towards protecting their donor class versus the people that they were elected to protect.
Well, I have a question about that. Like, I've never used any of those betting apps, a FanDuel, a Polymarket, or DraftKings. If you win, is that taxed? Like, do you pay taxes to your state if you win?
I think it's up to a certain amount. I know in Indiana, in the casinos, it's either $600 or $1,000. So if you went and hit a machine and won a prize of $600 or more, let's just say $600 or more. So you go in and hit a slot machine and you win $750. Well, they'll come up, take your information, get your tax information, and you pay taxes on it. But if you sit there and sit at a machine and start with $10, and by the time you cash out at 1,000, you don't have to pay taxes on it, as long as you don't hit that big one prize. So in Indiana, I know it's based off the one prize of before they tax you. So
What about the
I've
apps?
done a little bit. I do a little bit of FanDuel because it's legal here in Indiana. I haven't really won anything. I've lost probably more than I won, but I've only probably I've probably only put maybe less than $50 of my own money in it. Because a lot of times I take advantage of like the deals. Oh yeah, log in now and get $5 free or win a chance to win $5 free or whatever, and get a couple bucks here and there, and I'll go put that on it, and then I'll just turn around and go spin it, base it on something else. But you mentioned the prediction markets. I do got the call sheet app. If you pay attention to the news and you're up to date on news, politics, and all that stuff, you can make some money on those prediction apps because you know what's going to happen. The problem is, and I see where these are probably going to start getting banned, is because how easy they can be manipulated to favor somebody with the outcome. Let's say if person X has to give a speech and it says what are the odds of them saying the word dumbass in the speech, and it's 99% no and 1% yes. Well, somebody who's writing the speech could go through and put a whatever, because how it works out, they put whatever the market cap is on it and say yes, and all of a sudden they write into the speech that X, Y, and Z are dumbasses, and then all of a sudden they pay out. Well, they put all that money in, they can win it. So that's the issue they're having with those prediction markets, is how easily manipulable they are. Because I know there's been a couple events lately where the government's done stuff and people's putting money on right before an event happened, and it's like, why did you put it on this particular day? And 12 hours later, this event happened. So I do see that actually coming across.
That's fucky. Pardon my French.
I think it's just a matter of control, of course, and everything, because they're going to put these legalities behind it to make it so confusing as why you can do certain things. So, like for example, state of Texas, it's illegal to gamble in Texas, and yet we have scratch-off tickets. We can do the Powerball. You know, it's and there's some kind of loophole right there that allows that to happen and everything, right? There's control behind it and everything. Just like how there's control behind what's going on in New York and how they're, going after Valve and everything like that. And this isn't surprising to us if you think about it. Politics starting to come in our video games and everything. They've been around for a while now, actually. They're just trying to make themselves very well known now. But yeah, I've always found it weird that how the state of Texas doesn't do gambling or anything like that. And yes, we can still do scratch offs and everything. And they want to say that it's due to regulations and everything, right? Unlike taxes making them preferred a legal alternative to private gambling is what they called it. Gambling's gambling. I don't care what you call it. You know. So, you want to pay a little extra to get this nice little skin, or maybe try to get, the chances of getting a better weapon. And then I'm in agreement as far as the odds go and everything, because we all know this stuff is random number generated. At least that's what we're led to believe and everything. So now, if I found a developer was actually altering RNGs, then yeah, I would say we would have a problem for sure.
And the bottom line with that is just like anything else, you decide how you choose to spend your money.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to kids,
That's where the
different
gray
ball
area
game.
comes.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I imagine there have been cases, if there are not existing cases, of kids just the parents don't know what's going on with the video games half the time.
Mhm.
I have a kid that plays video games. I don't watch him play video games, but he knows and he has the fear of God that if he ever buys anything on with my money that I told him he couldn't have, he won't play a video game again until he can buy it himself.
Yeah. Yeah. In my line of business, when I was working in the cellular industry, I would hear parents talk about that stuff all the time. Yeah, he's grounded from the Nintendo or whatever. He had got charged about $1,000 worth of stuff off of Roblox or something like that. I think it was
Oh
Xbox
yeah,
or something like that. It's like, and it happens. And we've even had some friends within the Beers of War that's actually, I believe that's actually happened to as well. So in a way, that's kind of like the kids' taste of gambling there too, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't
yeah. I
know.
mean, you've heard stories multiple times about, and I don't know why it makes it news because they make these sob stories about how the kid go spent $2,000 buying skins for Fortnite, and then they want everybody to feel sorry for him and stuff. I'm like, no, that's your fault for not being a responsible parent and watching your kids. And why
Mhm.
was your card attached to your kid's account? That's one thing with my kids is when my card was attached to their Xbox accounts, it was set up to where they had to get a password to be able to purchase anything, so they couldn't go purchase anything. If they wanted to buy something, we had to come in there and put the password in to purchase it for them. So we didn't have to worry about any of that stuff happening. Now, once kids got their own money and stuff and got their own accounts, and that's on them. If they wanted to go spend $1,000 on skins on Fortnite or Roblox, that's they're adults. That's what they could do. And and I agree. It's like there needs to be protection for kids, but at the same time, don't take the fun away from the adults.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of the solutions I said could end up happening if this lawsuit succeeds is a lot of these loot boxes you would have to basically go through a third party, which would be some casino affiliated app or program to purchase the loot boxes for your games, or your if you want Pokemon, you might need to go to an MGM affiliated outlet to be able to purchase Pokemon cards, whoever buys the rights to it, because then that way they can monitor and regulate who's buying and purchasing the cards.
That's a terrible idea. That is a terrible idea. Mm-mm. Wow.
Well, it's a terrible idea whenever the government gets involved in anything. Just leave people alone.
Just stay out of my video games. That's all I asked.
You got some roads to pave there, Uncle Sam. Get to paving.
Yeah, let's not talk about my state and roads being paved and taxes on that bull crap. Okay, let's get away from the politics on this one. So, anything else anybody would like to add? I got a cat trying to get in front of my camera.
I personally, I hope the lawsuit fails. That's about where I can put it in. I hope it gets thrown out of court, and they can find something else. You know, find something else to get your fingers into.
Yeah, it's been going on for about the case was filed in 23, so it's been going on for about 2 years. And I just
Yeah.
first heard about it about 2 weeks ago. So it's
So,
been there in a while and hasn't got thrown out yet. So
if you are watching, I would like you to share your thoughts, or we would like you to share your thoughts down in the comment section. Please like, comment, and subscribe. How do you feel about this lawsuit being filed by New York AG Leticia James, asking whether or not loot crates are indeed gambling?
I will take us out. Thanks for listening to us. Like Sir Bigness said, make sure you comment if you have any opinions on this. It's one of the rare few times you'll ever probably hear us mention politics. And
We're
hopefully we don't
sorry.
have to do it again for another. Hopefully we don't have to do it for another 5 years. I got a cat wants to be a butthole. So, as always, you got your drinks ready? If you drink, may you drink with me. And she's right back up here.